Performance-based question for your Security Plus exam prep. In this video, I'm going to help get you ready for your Security Plus examination. We are going to have to do the following. We're going to have to read each scenario and select the most appropriate threat actor categorization, the most appropriate attributes, and the most appropriate motivations in order to accurately categorize the threats. You're going to have to know about threat actor categorization, know about different attributes, and different motivations before you take your Security Plus exam. This basically boils down to what type of threat are we dealing with? Is it organized crime? Is it a hacktivist? Something along those lines. What type of attributes are we looking at for this particular attacker? Are they well funded? Do they not have a lot of money? Is it a threat coming from inside of our department, of our infrastructure? What kind of training do they have? Are they highly skilled? Things to that effect. And then the motivations as well. Do they want money? Do they want to achieve something in relation to their political ideologies? Are they an eco-terrorist? Are they trying to sabotage our oil rigs because they don't like what we do to the environment? Understanding these three things will help us be able to do the next thing, which is ranking the threats in accordance with their severity. Which ones are most severe? Which ones do we need to really pay attention to? And which ones are still important but are less of a threat? So we'll go through this one by one. First of all, you may choose from the following options for each category. So we have our threat actor categorizations. We've got nation state, an unskilled attacker, a hacktivist, insider threat, organized crime, and shadow IT. Right? We're going to need to know what each of those are. This is not a video where I explain these all to you. I'm going to do that in my course at some point when I put that out. You're going to need to know about the attributes, which is, is it coming from inside? Is it internal? Do they have a low level of resources? Do they have a high level of ability? Are they external to your corporation? Do they have a high level of resources or a low level of ability? These are all things that you specifically need to know about for your exam. And then their motivations. Do they want to take data out of your corporation? Are they trying to conduct espionage? Are they trying to disrupt your service? Are they trying to blackmail you? Do they want money from you? Are they doing this in line with their philosophical or political beliefs? So an example might be like animal rights activists trying to hack into animal research laboratory and take it down, or something to that effect. Is it ethical? That would also apply here. You could apply both of those there. Is it revenge? Is it disruption or chaos? Or is it something to do with war? Okay, we're going to have to choose the correct one of these for each of the following three scenarios. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, threat one. We have multiple government systems have recognized a DDoS attack being carried out on them from a wide variety of overseas IP addresses. So a DDoS attack, do we remember what that is? It's a distributed denial of service attack. So that is when you have a wide variety of devices, a lot of which have likely been hacked and manipulated to do so through the use of malware, which are trying to overwhelm a system in order to get it to stop being able to do what it is designed to do. Additionally, an employee has recently been discovered to be an insider threat who has been exfiltrating heavily encrypted data and sending it to an IP address located in another country. This employee has been doing so for the past 3 years and has been undetected until now. The DDoS attack has shut down a number of critical servers, and once successful, the attack was redirected to the backup servers. This threat has remained consistent. So, let's take this one by one. Based on this information, what kind of threat actor do you think this is? You're going to need to go back to the slide and have a look at our options. Have a look at your options here. Based on these options, what type of threat actor do you think it is? I want you to insert your answer here into the threat actor. I'm going to give you the answer in 3, 2, 1. It is nation state, guys. Why do we think this is a nation state? Well, for one, we're looking at government systems. So our government is being attacked, which means there's likely going to be, it's likely going to be coming from another country who's trying to do damage to our country. Sorry. Well, have a look here. It says multiple government systems. That's the first clue, I suppose, that keys us in. Generally, if it's the government that's being attacked, there's a good chance it's going to be coming from a another country, which is basically what nation state is. It's an attack on our country. It's an attack on our governments. The other things that are going to indicate this to be the case are things that are also generally the case for government systems, for nation state. So if they're heavily resourced, if it is something where we have had a plant, someone has been planted in our system, which is the case here. It also says the DDoS attack has been carried out from a wide variety of overseas IP addresses. So the fact that these IP addresses are overseas is another hint, right? They're attacking our government through overseas IP addresses. So this is coming from another geographical country or continent, all right? Additionally, an employee has recently been discovered to be an insider threat. So someone has been exfiltrating heavily encrypted data and sending it to an IP address located in another country. That's the other key giveaway. Someone has intentionally been planted in our company with the specific goal of sending data, encrypted data, to another country. So we're now starting to see a pattern. Overseas IP addresses. Government systems are being attacked and the data is being exfiltrated or sent over to another country. This employee has been doing so for the past 3 years and has been undetected until now. So they've successfully done this undetected for 3 years, which implies there's a decent amount of training that's gone into this. And this person is like a professional. So a professional has come into our place of work that is in the government and is sending heavily encrypted data to another country. That best suits nation state, right? It's not an unskilled attacker. It's not a hacktivist. It is an insider threat, absolutely, but the more correct answer here is nation state. Insider threat is simply someone who is on the inside, but nation state is specifically, it's another country who's trying to come in and do damage to us. So in this particular scenario, the insider threat is just a small method that the nation state has used to achieve their goal. But the most correct answer is nation state, because that is the one that best applies here. It is not organized crime. There's nothing to show us that it's organized crime. And it's nothing to do with a shadow IT department, okay? There's nothing here that indicates shadow IT. So the best answer, due to everything I just discussed, is nation state. So with that being said, let's get into the attributes. What are some attributes we have found? Let's think of the first one, right? The first one, I'm going to go ahead and show you the first attribute because I know you've paused the video and had to go at this already, is a high level of ability. This person clearly has a high level of ability. They are highly trained. Also, here comes the next one. It is external. So it is not internal, it is external. The threat is coming from outside. Now, this one is probably a little confusing, and I can see how it could be, because you may be thinking, how is this an external threat if it has been an insider threat? Here's the thing with attributes. Generally, we have 3 slots here to choose from, and the attributes we have to choose from is it internal or external? Is it a low level of resources or a high level of resources? Or is it a high level of ability or a low level of ability? So we essentially have to choose between, is it internal or external in this case? So because we have to make that choice, the overall threat is coming from overseas. Despite the fact that we have an insider threat, the overall threat is coming from overseas. So the threat is being targeted from overseas, which is external. It's the most correct answer there. It would be understandable if you put internal. That one is quite confusing and was kind of there to trip you up. But just understand that a nation state attack generally is going to have the attribute of being external because they're coming at you from a different geographical location. You also have the DDoS attack that's coming from overseas, and the insider threat was planted by an overseas nation state. So as a whole, this wide-scale attack is external rather than internal. Okay, an example of internal might be someone who used to work for you or someone who does work for you trying to take down your systems from the inside, but the DDoS attack is coming from outside. The nation state is located in a different environment. It is an external threat is the most correct answer there. And the last one is going to be a high level of funding. All of this requires a high level of funding, particularly for nation states. Generally, they have a lot of money to throw at you, and it's going to be the most amount of money that any of these potential threats have to throw at you. Now, what are the motivations here? We have to select from the motivations over here. Have a look at those motivations and think about which ones best suit. The first one coming to you in 3, 2, 1 is going to be data exfiltration. They did say that they are exfiltrating highly encrypted data. And the second one is going to be service disruption. A DDoS attack wanted to disrupt a service. All right, service disruption and data exfiltration were their main objectives here. Let's go ahead and move on to threat number 2, which reads, you work for a private equity firm, and upon walking past one of your coworkers' laptops, you notice that their screen reads, you have provided the incorrect password too many times and have been locked out for 5 minutes. As you continue on your stroll, you notice many other computers displays showing the same message. Additionally, your supervisor calls you into the office and states that an ID card belonging to a member of staff who was recently given disciplinary action was used to gain access to the facility not long ago. Despite it being his scheduled day off, the staff member was noted as saying, you'll pay for this during the meeting regarding their disciplinary action. All right, guys, so what do we think the threat actor is here? Out of these potential threat actors, which one best suits this scenario? This one, there's not a lot of tricks here. It's pretty clear. 3, 2, 1. It's an inside threat. Okay, this is someone who works for your company, and they are trying to do something from the inside. What attributes are we looking at here as well, guys? 3 attributes for this person. Let's have a think. The first one that we've got here, and I'm assuming you've already filled this out. All right, make sure you've already had an attempt at this before we walk through this. But the first one is going to be a low level of resources, guys. This is someone who's just using their ID card. They're coming in and they're just trying to brute force password guess by manually accessing computers. All right, that is not a highly sophisticated attack. That is not something that takes a lot of resources to be able to do. Additionally, along that note, it's a low level of ability. He's just trying to randomly guess people's passwords. That is a low skill attack. Okay. And the last attribute is it is coming from internal. It is an internal threat. It is not a threat from the outside. It is someone inside our organization who works for our organization who is attempting to do something malicious. So their motivations, they were recently given disciplinary action. So revenge is a reasonable motivation to assume here. Now, we don't actually know what they wanted to do once they would get in. There's no details about that given to us here. So that means the only motivation we can comfortably discuss is likely revenge, because the other ones, if we have a look, right, there's nothing about whether or not he's trying to get data out, nothing about him being a spy, nothing about him trying to disrupt a service, nothing about him trying to blackmail, nothing about financial gain, nothing about any of this. The only real thing we know is he probably wanted revenge because he was recently given disciplinary action. So that is what the correct answer for that would look like. Let's move on to threat 3, which would look like, which reads this. While monitoring the network for the university campus you work for, you notice that an unknown IP address has successfully authenticated to your network using the login credentials of a staff member. Upon investigating, you discover that these credentials were gathered by a man in the middle attack on the staff member. Once the individual gained entry, they escalated their privilege and changed their permissions in order to make significant changes to the university's website. The front page of the website has been covered in photos from the university's animal research program, which tests on a variety of primates. These photos are particularly graphic. The university's media relations officer later informs you that they were contacted by the media soon after the website was changed and asked to comment on the animal testing occurring at the university. Okay, what kind of threat actor do we think this is? We should have something in our mind, having another look at the potential threat actors we can choose from. Is it nation state, unskilled attacker, hacktivist, insider threat, organized crime, or shadow IT? This one, guys, is going to be 3, 2, 1, a hacktivist. This is an individual who is doing some level of activism. They don't like what this university campus is doing to their animals, and they have hacked in with the intention of making this perceived wrong as being known to the media. All right. The attributes here, a low level of resources, right? They're not necessarily particularly resourced. This seems to be one individual doing work on their own. There's nothing about a lot of money being thrown at this. A lot of this can be done without a large level of resources. If we had to choose between high resources, comparing it to the nation state example, or low level of resources. Low level of resources best fits this. There's not a lot of resources. However, there is a high level of ability. Using a man in the middle of attack and privilege escalation indicates that this individual does know what they're doing. Okay, they do know what they're doing. And finally, the threat is coming from external. It is coming from outside. It's not someone who works for the university who's doing this because they've been fired and they're doing things from the inside. It's someone who's hacking and coming from the outside. What are their motivations? Taking another look at the potential motivations that someone could have. Which motivations do you think best fit here? Let's have a look. The first one, again, assuming you've already made an attempt at this and downloaded it, is ethical, right? They have an issue with the ethics of the animal testing occurring here, and they think something wrong is being done. And finally, philosophical/political beliefs. Those two often go hand in hand, right? Philosophically, they think this animal testing is unethical and they are conducting activism about that. All right, finally, guys, we're going to have to rank these threats. So take your threat 1, threat 2, and threat 3 and put them in the correct order here. Do you think threat 1, the nation state, is it number 1, 2, or 3? Do you think the insider threat from threat 2 is a bigger threat? Or do you think threat 3, the hacktivist, is a bigger threat? So threat 1, threat 2, and threat 3, put them where you think they belong. Let's have a look. The highest threat, guys, is going to be threat 1, which was the nation state. They're the most heavily resourced. Being attacked by another country is going to be the most significant threat, particularly because they're targeting government systems with a high degree of ability and funding. The next highest threat is going to be threat 3, which was our hacktivists. They don't have a lot of resources, but they have a high level of ability. Okay, so their high level of ability and what they were able to achieve makes them the next highest threat. And finally, that leaves threat 2 as the least concerning threat here. This person has come in and they're just trying to spam passwords. We should really easily be able to find out who this is. We have their ID card. They don't have a high level of ability. They don't have a high level of resources. They're just trying to do whatever they can. All right, we should be able to catch them pretty quickly, pretty easily. So if you have enjoyed this performance-based question, guys, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've got more like this coming out. And hey, I'll see you in the next video. Good luck on your Security Plus. I know you can do it. All right, bye, guys.